Hi, I'm Sara Campbell. Welcome to Freediving Legends. Today, I'm with one of the biggest names in freediving. He is a world record holder, he's a shark conservationist and publicist, and he is the man most famously known for giving me the name Mighty Mouse. William Winram. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
Great. So, you've gone from competition sharks, you're back training. What's going on for you at the moment?
Well, I started in the competition side of things by accident, and 2005 was my first World Championships. I went because it was going to be in the south of France and in Switzerland, and it was just going to be fun. And then got a little more serious in 2006, and that was where my friendship with Fred Buyle kind of evolved to where we started talking about our passion for sharks and conservation, and started kind of branching out, doing more and more photographic projects, trying to photograph and film ourselves with sharks, and that kind of started to overlap, and it's been like that ever since. My desire to break world records has been ongoing, but is this going to be a problem with fucking flies?
He likes your nose. Keep going.
So, my 2013 was the variable ballast world record, and after that my plan was to go after the no fins world record until I broke my arm and tore my shoulder complex. So 2014 was rehab, and this is kind of getting back in the water to test where I'm at and see what else I might need to work on before attempting that record.
Okay. So this year or next year, 2016, more likely?
Yes, more likely.
Okay. So what happened with your shoulder? Is it a long story?
It's embarrassing.
Oh.
No, it's one of those moments. I just finished a tour of schools. I had to speak at a fundraiser.
Yeah.
I was staying at a friend's place who had this old house with these narrow, well-worn stairs, and literally it was one of those moments. I grabbed my suit, I stepped on the stairs, and next thing I knew my feet were up above my head, and everything went in slow motion, and I just remember thinking, most likely this will not end well.
Yeah.
I landed and skied down the staircase, and when I got to the bottom, excruciating pain, I reached over here and my elbow was up here. And I knew that I'd broken the arm. And, from there it was the comedy of emergency. I didn't really tell a little fib, I just didn't tell the truth, because I was standing there looking at emergency being packed with people going, oh my God, I have to speak in 3 hours, how am I going to do this, will the bone cut an artery or a nerve, can I do this without, can I buy painkillers here?
You went ahead?
Yeah, because the nurse came and she said, sir, can I help you? And I said, yes, I'm Swiss, I'm here visiting friends, I fell down the stairs, I think I broke my arm. And I'm in my head trying to figure out, how do I say I have a public conference to give? And I said, I don't have much time. And she says, oh my God, you have a flight. Yes. They were lovely. I got in, I was x-rayed, saw the surgeon. He said, you're getting on a plane. Okay, we'll cast you, we'll give you painkillers. And of course, they were lovely painkillers.
I was going to say, were they good?
I arrived in my suit kind of, as I could make it with the cast. And I was quite happy. And I couldn't remember what the heck I was supposed to talk about. And I was kind of sad. Thank God I had cue cards. And my opening line was perfect. I said, well, I've been diving with sharks for 30 years without incident. I have all my fingers and toes. But today I was attacked by a staircase, which resulted in a broken arm. But I'm here to talk about it. So, and the unfortunate thing was that I was on anti-inflammatories and painkillers for quite some time. Had the surgical repair, which went really, really well. And then when I was given permission to start the rehab, we started doing the rehab, and I was slowly weaning myself off of the painkillers. And that's when we realized that I'd also torn everything in the shoulder. And they did an MRI, and he said, we'll give you 6 months to decide if we need surgery. But
and that's possibly almost more serious for the sport than the broken bone, right?
The broken bone heals itself and it's done, but the shoulder has been ongoing.
Okay, well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
And so you're here in Dahab at the moment, as you say, just kind of getting yourself back into it.
Yes.
No fins.
Yes.
Is it going well?
It's going.
It's going.
It was the first no fins dive I do in 3 years. It was 62 meters. As I was recovering my arms for the second pull, I was thinking, what are you thinking? There's no pain and suffering when you do the sled, You ride the sled down, it's lovely. You open the valve, you go back up.
The elevator ride, right?
Yes, it's lovely. And here I am. What was I
stairs.
thinking? I'm going to swim back up without fins? Oh. So the first one was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was less horrible, and they're getting better and better and better. And the other day, actually, was playing around. I did swam up from 25 meters with 14 kilos,
Oof.
and surfaced and went, that didn't feel like anything.
Okay.
Give me 3 minutes, I do another one. It was
Yeah.
very, very easy,
Yeah.
very nice. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're famous for your kick. I remember 2007 when you were coaching me, or just kind of having a look and saying, just do your legs off the surface, Sara. And you're like, you should get down to 6 meters, and then, once you're there, it gets easy. And I was just, my legs on the surface, and I didn't go anywhere.
Yes, but you still did the world
I
record.
still did a world record. And I do remember you saying, it's amazing. I was like, really?
Yes.
I've improved, I'm good. And you said, no, it's amazing, you can dive that deep and you look like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I always bring that up when I'm coaching, going, really don't get too hung up on the technique, Just keep your mind clear and,
No.
have confidence in yourself.
The technique is relevant to after a certain depth.
Yeah, and certainly for no fins, I would say it's the one where it's the most important.
Like, for example, Herbert, when he did the 83 meter no fins.
I was going to say, Herbert's a perfect example.
I said to him, Herbert, let me train you. You'll do 100, no problem.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I hate this discipline. I don't do it again. That was
Yeah.
in 2007. Then 2009, he announced his 88
Yeah.
with, he did one training dive to 55.
Mm.
He did in the heats 76 or 75, I can't remember, and then announced 88. And he made it back to the surface, but he was too on the limit and he just couldn't do the surface protocol.
I think I was coaching him on the surface for that one, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, Herbert with his, and also his monofin, I mean, technique is questionable.
Yes, always. I would say, Herbert, do you want me to film you in the event? No. I will make it look nice after we will film. A good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was,
Well, he's phenomenal.
yeah.
I was talking to Umberto, he calls him the GOAT, the greatest of all time, which is kind of nice. He definitely
Yeah, he
deserves
is.
it. Oh, absolutely.
I think he has more world records than anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've been doing a lot of stuff with sharks. I had no idea, actually, that you've been into the sharks since 2005, 2006 with Fred. I didn't realise it had been going for that long. I mean, for me, it's, the last few years you've really been putting a lot of work, a lot of energy, and we've been seeing the results of that work and commitment coming out. And I'm fascinated by what you're doing and where all of this is heading.
We'll see where it heads.
Yeah.
I mean, we started off just doing photos and, trying to figure out where our niche was, because neither of us wanted to create a nonprofit. What we were interested was, in the discussion, what was the one thing that we could do? Well, we could share with people a different perspective on them, because we've both been diving with them for years, for decades. And that started, expeditions to dive with particularly the most enigmatic species like tiger sharks, etc., and photograph it. But interesting, it was really difficult to get published. You'd send the photos out to magazines and they go, Photoshop, no thank you.
Really?
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't believe you?
No, they didn't believe us at all. Or wasn't sensational enough. There's a major network in the US, 2010 or 11, one of the producers he pitched an idea about, doing a segment on me as an athlete and a guy who dives out of the cage with great white sharks. And I sent them a sequence, which you basically have me swimming down, you have the shark swimming in, and then basically I'm here and the great white just swims, this distance. The executive, the response was, do you have anything more sensational?
Yeah. They want you to get eaten, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2011, a Discovery producer, he said, it's not really...
What, Discovery didn't go?
No, you know what I said to him? I said, okay, so I jumped up on the seat and I'm standing there. I said, okay, so you're going to have to visualize. We're at Guadalupe Island. I'm standing on the railing of the boat. Okay? Now, we cut to camera. I say, okay, folks, after the break, I'm going to strip down to my skivvies. I'm going to dive off here. I'm going to wrestle a great white shark. And I said, then you pan from above and you see the big great white swimming by the boat.
Yeah, he loved it.
Oh, yeah, they would love that. I said, there's one catch.
Yeah.
He said, what? Tell me. I said, I need $1 million. It's that dangerous. No. I'll look that stupid that I'm ruined for any serious conservation from then on. So give me the $1 million and I can do another 10 plus years of tagging and conservation without having to worry about it. Yeah, no, they won't give you $1 million for that. So, we just, for a long time, it was just a lot of grinding away, pushing, trying to get things to work, seeing what worked, what didn't. We kind of realized that, for example, for networks, to show stuff with us in the water with great whites is really good for them. Their viewership goes way up, but it has no feedback for us. There's no change in our social media or our website traffic because people think we're idiots. They think that we're either super macho guys or we're nut jobs.
Yeah.
And because these short reportage, these short reports are basically just showing something which is viewed as impossible, as extraordinary, there's no behind the scenes, there's no how did we get there? Journalists are shocked when we launched Great White Shark 3D and I was doing interviews. They're like, how did you get here? I started 30 years ago by chance encountering a tiger shark. I was scared to death. And she didn't eat me, obviously, because I'm here. But, I was sitting on the beach after that encounter going, she's a vegetarian. I met the only vegetarian tiger shark.
Yeah.
And I went back, and back in that day, no internet, no computers, it was microfiche, and I was ordering books and reading and trying to see if anyone had had this kind of interaction, and no one. It was always man-eater, extremely dangerous, but this animal had presented itself as very shy and curious.
Yeah.
So you explain to them that, the first time we ever got in with the great whites, it was one shark length of visibility. They could have predated on us at any moment. And we thought we had one shark. When we looked and reviewed the footage afterwards, we realized we had two.
Okay.
One would come in, disappear, and then come from another angle. We're like, wow, they're really quick. And at one point, we surfaced and thought they'd left. And it was right, I hit it actually as I turned. It was that close. It was just, it was curious.
Yeah.
So when when people start to understand that background, it's not a stunt. It's not a machismo thing. It's not about being petrified and overcoming it and running and jumping in and being a crazy idiot. No, it's about observing the animal and understanding their behavior. And then, some days we can't get in the water because they're too much in a predatory state. So we wait. And, we get in, if anyone's meditated, there's a point in your meditation where you drift off, you space out. When we're in the water with great white sharks, it's 100% focused the whole time because the moment you start to space out, they sense it, and then they start to come from your blind spot, not to get you, but they want to kind of check you out. And the best analogy I have, and women always get this, you're in the bar, you see this guy kind of checking you out, but then he's like, he doesn't want you to notice that he's that, and then he's trying to get an angle, so he kind of creeps along the bar to get close enough, but then he's still nervous. Sharks are just like that.
Okay.
As soon as you make eye contact, they're like, no, not me, and they swim off.
Yeah.
So we're constantly, if you see footage of us, we're constantly doing this shoulder checking for the shark that we don't see.
Okay.
And I know when I've got one in front of me that pretty much I'm not going to have a problem from any of the other ones.
Right. Why is that?
Because they're territorial.
Okay.
And they'll usually let, the animal kind of do what it wants to do.
Okay.
Moreover, if it's the bigger female, then you're quite assured the smaller males will disappear.
Right.
So what happened in 2008 was kind of a turning point. We got invited to help the Buyle Foundation tagging hammerhead sharks. It was one of the most immediately successful expeditions. We tagged, if I remember correctly, 46 sharks.
Cool.
They were looking to discover or prove, more importantly, that their theory that the hammerheads in the island of Buyle were migrating to Cocos Island and around to the Galapagos, which would then show governments that simply having these marine protected areas at each island wasn't sufficient because the animals could be slaughtered as they migrated, and it proved it 100%. The system the scientists had designed to tag was brilliant in that it allowed them to buy an off-the-shelf spear gun, put this attachment on the end, and use it to place tags.
Okay.
The problem was it added 200 grams to the end of the spear shaft.
Oh.
So firing horizontally, the drop-off was too quick. So I asked one of the scientists, I took it, I went to a manufacturer that I knew, and I said, look, this is what they're using. I said, can you get a higher tensile steel, make a cutout, have a benign dart that clips in and do that. And that's the system that we use now. Then from there in 2008, there were several expeditions that we were supposed to do, all canceled due to a lack of funding.
Right.
I still had the illusion that as an elite level athlete, I could find sponsorship. And I would find sponsorship sufficient that I could then fund the research and stuff. And 2009, we met Dr. Mauricio Hoyos at the island of Isla Guadalupe in the Mexican Pacific. And he said, can you guys please play some tags for me? We said, yeah. How many do you have? 2 or 3? I said, Mauricio,
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist, but I studied enough science. You need a bigger sample rate than that. He said, that's all I have. He says, what I'm hoping is that I'll gather enough data that I can inspire people to, to fund more of the research. So my wife and I started literally pounding the pavement, knocking on doors of foundations, seeing what we had to do. It was a big learning curve, and we eventually, there was a foundation in Geneva that decided to take a chance on us. We did fit in within their mandate, but it was conditional that we create a nonprofit.
Which you didn't want to do.
Well, I didn't really want to do because there's enough of them out there that are doing good things. There's also a lot of them out there that are doing nothing, and they're just kind of putting people off of donating money because they accomplish nothing, they do nothing. Anyways, we did it. We took the money and we started the process of supporting Dr. Hoyos' research and other researchers. It wasn't enough money. We still don't have enough money to do the research. I was telling a potential donor, I said, if you gave me 750,000 euros right now, I could spend it all on tags. Not on a single expedition boat, not on a single airfare, accommodation, or otherwise. I said, the problem is that I couldn't do the work. There's not enough of us that we could volunteer with enough hours in a year to do all of this work and still pay all of our expenses.
Yeah.
So what we wound up doing, for example, expedition boats are usually $10,000 a day.
Okay.
So we would book a boat. My wife and I would take the personal risk, and then we would sell the boat. So we would sell spots to people that wanted to support scientific research and be on site to watch us doing the work, and that's how we funded it. So we took the small amount of money and managed to extrapolate it to a value in the last 3 to 4 years of 800,000. And we're continuing to work and to develop it. We have a lot of projects in development. We decided that we wanted to start to engage young people. So we've had young people come on expeditions from as young as 9 years old to 15, 16 years old to dive with sharks, to see the research and to experience it. And then, their kind of contribution is that they go back to their school and they do a presentation to their class, to their schoolmates, and kind of raise.
And they're inspired and motivated and will continue hopefully in the future to do something meaningful.
You hope.
Yeah.
We always have that hope. In some cases, yes. In other cases, no. I mean, they're young people.
So, in terms of actually doing the tagging, is it still just you and Fred, or you've got other people?
No, it's pretty much just Fred and I.
Wow.
We have young people apprenticing with us, but it's a lengthy process. And what illustrates the difficulty around that, I was talking with a spear fisherman last year who had volunteered to take over in a remote location where we were tagging. And he said, so tell me, what do I do? How do I do it? I said, well, do you know what the difference is between tagging and spearing a fish? He said, no. I said, where do you try to shoot when you're hunting? He said, center of mass. I said, exactly. I said, do you care if you miss? He said, well, I'm frustrated, but no, I missed. I pull, I reload, and I said, okay. If you miss, and I was talking about that location, it's 800 meters of depth. You're at 25 meters. You fire and you miss the shark. The tag falls off. Are you going to sprint after it and retrieve it?
How much is a tag?
Anywhere from $400 to $5,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thankfully, usually the $5,000 tags float.
Okay.
I said, so what if you hit the fish in the tail? He said, depends on the species. If it's a soft flesh, if it's a hard flesh, it's just a wild fight, and you risk not landing it. I said, right. So take the dorsal fin of the shark. You have an area next to it this big, which is appropriate to place the tag. You don't want to place it down here. it won't stay. It'll fall out. You place it back here. It's not going to stay. I said, so the area that you have to choose, and we don't always get it right. Sometimes it goes into the fin. At least it still stays there. So I said, you have to take all of the factors and take this small area where you need to place the tag. It's not easy. And moreover, with some species, like scalloped hammerheads, they're super shy. When we're doing that kind of tagging, we're doing an exhale. We exhale on the surface, fin, and then just free fall.
Right.
Sometimes I've had squeaky ears, and I go to Fred, here, you do the tag. Every time I equalize, it squeaks and they take off. I can't.
Really? They even hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they're really skittish.
Wow. Okay.
So, whereas great whites, not so skittish and a much bigger target.
Yeah.
But there you're paying attention to, being possibly predated on or, aggressed or things like that.
So, if people are interested in coming to volunteer and to work with you, what kind of skills, are the most useful? Is it spearfishing? Is it just the free dive, the breath hold? Is it scientific background? Or?
It's mostly willingness to volunteer and pay, because there's no free spots. If I book a boat, there's enough spots for our team, which is the ones that we need to be there. Yeah. And then every other spot is up for grabs. Okay. And that's been a problem. My dream is for us to have our own expedition boat, which has the space for ourselves, the crew, and then the possibility for other people to join us, either as paying guests or young university students that want to apprentice, to take the skill forward as a scientist.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
They need to be a competent diver. And I was trying to point out to an instructor who's basically gotten certified here in the Blue Hole, which the Blue Hole is a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
I was telling him, I said, I met a PhD student in Mozambique last year. She's South African. She's grown up diving in South Africa. She's incredibly competent in the water. She handles currents. She handles big animals. I said, she's at a different level. I said, you just started. You went 0 to hero. Now you need to go and dive around the planet. Your level of understanding of the sea is extremely limited. This woman's level of understanding is extraordinary because of where she grew up and where she dove. And moreover, she can easily dive to 25 meters and hang there without being stressed out.
Yeah. So, you're diving in some pretty extreme places sometimes when you do this work.
Yes, some of the places, we're wearing radio transponders, and you can get swept away, and you activate it, and hopefully they find you.
Okay.
When we were diving in one location 2 years ago, the current was so strong that we eventually had to put a float in with an anchor and hold on. And on an exhale, you still had to fin down. And there was a point when you would pass 25 meters when you could get ahead of the current. And then you could relax a bit. And one of my safety divers is a solid competitive diver. He's a 70-meter diver. He's a strong guy. And at the end of the second day, he said, so we take a break tomorrow. I said, I have 30 tags to place. I'll place 2. We're not going to place 30. I said, we go every day, and we go. And he went, oh, my God, I'm going to die. And he said, I think this is excellent training for deep competitive diving because I never suffer this much. On one of the dives, and he leaves a minute after me off the surface, and I was kind of free falling, and I passed 30 meters, and I saw a group of 3 hammerheads coming in. So I'm kind of like this, hiding my eyes, and then they turn off. So I'm now coming up to 40, and I see another group coming in, and I kind of did a Hail Mary, and I fired and I missed. And I saw the tag go down. It was 48 meters. So I swam down and I heard this. It's him having a contraction.
Oh, really?
And I grabbed the tag at 48 meters. The dive time was almost 4 minutes as I'm swimming up. And my legs are burning and I was almost vomiting from the lactic acid. And he's giving me that very unnice signal. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
And he's got to the surface. He's like, you're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm just trying to do the job. That's the job. He goes, oh, my God.
Yeah. It's a whole different game.
It's a whole different game. But,
freedivers know.
By comparison, with the great whites, we're not doing 30, 40-meter dives. We can't. That puts you at too great a risk of
Right.
exposure to the animals.
Right.
When we're working in Bimini, it's 6-7 meters. Sometimes it's 15 meters. So
Okay.
it's a much easier scenario. But there are locations where the current is horrendous. In Mozambique, I got in the boat, and by the time you count to 5, I'm 150. Got in the water from the boat. I'm 150 meters away. How do you do that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, listening to you, it's like, how do you breathe up? How do you relax and still pull off these, huge dives, 4-minute long dives, close to 50 meters? It's just...
In a scenario like Mozambique, it was 25 to 35 meters, and the dives were 2 to 3 minutes, and you just knew. And I think one of the things that I'm happy about with that is that from the hard training and conditioning in the pool, you know how much you can suffer, and you know that it's not, the sensations that you're having have nothing to do with being close to the limit of your apnea. It's really how much you're willing to suffer.
Right.
And there's not a single time in Mozambique where I was even remotely close to the limit of my apnea. I was very close to the limit of my suffering. You're on the surface and you're dry heaving because of all the lactic acid you built up because you can't free fall. You'd have to fin as fast as you could way, way, way up current and then start your dive and sprint down to be able to drift back to where the sharks were.
Yeah.
And then it's over, and then you go up and you hang on the boat.
Yeah.
And you're literally like this. So instead of 3 to 5 minutes in between dives, we were taking 10 minutes in between dives,
Yeah.
but you're still out of breath when you start to go.
Yeah.
That sensation that you've run.
Yeah.
Which, going back to competitive diving, it's one of the things I don't like about no fins is, when you arrive to your free fall, if you feel like, how can you possibly relax to go to 80 or 90 meters? It's not going to happen. And that's one of the challenges of no fins because you don't have anything to propel yourself. So,
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, what you do with the sharks must be awesome preparation for your competitive career.
Absolutely. And I
sports.
regret this year that I didn't start with any serious tagging because in 2013, when I did the world record in variable, I started with a really difficult tagging expedition where it took me 3 weeks to recover. I got back to Geneva, I was sick as a dog, and then we had to edit a film. But, 2 months later, when I went to the Bahamas and started my training,
Easy.
yeah, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
So, same with 2009. I didn't, for the World Championships, I only had 10 actual days of deep diving, but we were filming and tagging for 6-8 weeks of, I remember one point, I think it was in June, they wanted us to dive on this wreck at 40 meters. We're doing 10 dives to 40 meters hanging on the wreck every day for 6-8 days.
Yeah.
And then we go somewhere else and do something else. So it's a lot of repetitive dives. It does improve your level of apnea and your level of fitness specifically for diving.
Yeah.
So then when I got to the Bahamas, all I needed to do was acclimatize to depth and refine the actual dive itself.
So what is the future for your Waterman project?
Ideally, we continue to grow and develop, find more financial backing, continue to take on apprentices and train people that can do the work, and expand the number of scientific projects and research projects that we can support, as well as expanding the exposure that we can bring to these projects so that they don't become just pure research, so that research comes alive with young people.
Right.
So that people understand the importance of different species of sharks to the health of our oceans and overall to climate change and the health of our planet. My big dream is an expedition boat.
Somebody out there, give him some money. He needs a boat.
I don't need a lot.
How much?
I need
Go on.
$500,000 for the boat that I want. And then I need operating costs for 2 to 3 years. And then from there, we have a business plan to be able to make it self-sufficient.
Yeah. And why the Watermen Project? Because you don't mention sharks, you don't mention conservation in there.
Well, at the time when we had to create a name, I'd had a conversation with Pierre Frola. He said, "What is a waterman?" I said, "Well, Google it." But I said, for me, it's somebody who has an incredible love or passion for the sea, and they had a set of skills in the sea. It's not just a free diver, it's somebody who free dives, who maybe surfs or windsurfs or spearfishes or fishes, can operate a boat, who can sail a boat. This
The whole life around the ocean.
Their life revolves around the sea. And so the project it's a project to develop watermen and waterwomen, to help people become, take their passion. For example, one of the apprentices, he's just super passionate about the sea. He comes from a landlocked nation. He's learned to free dive to an incredibly competent level. He's getting certified as an instructor. He's learning to spearfish. He started stand-up paddling. He's getting certified to captain boats. He's becoming a waterman.
Yeah. So I suppose the scope for what you do is as wide as people really want it to be, as it develops. And
yes, absolutely. The PhD candidate that I met last year, she's she's an instructor, scuba instructor, incredibly skilled in the water. She's incredibly skilled free diver in the water. She has incredible technique. She's a boat captain. She's going to have her PhD. She spearfish from time to time, and she's super interested to learn how to tag. And moreover, where she works and does her research are in remote atolls where you cannot get a scuba tank filled. And this is, one aspect of this. Freediving is an extremely useful tool for research in remote locations. So, that's also part of it. We're trying to collaborate with a research center because a lot of their undergrads that come there to do either their master's or their PhD there are doing a lot of freediving, but they don't know any of the safety parameters. They don't know how to do safety for one another. They don't know how to understand and explore their limits safely. So we've been trying to collaborate with them to teach them.
Okay, great.
So the scope, as you say, is huge.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I'd love to join you one day.
You have to come with the great whites.
I have to start saving.
Well, hopefully one day we will have an expedition boat and we will be able to open it up to different people that want to come and experience it.
I've once seen a shark in the Bahamas, but I've been very unlucky. I say unlucky, unlucky, I think, in terms of swimming with the big stuff. I was in Durban off Aliwal Shoal. Nothing.
Not even the black tips?
Nothing. Not a single shark.
Wow, that's bad luck.
Really? Yeah?
I've never been skunked there. We've been skunked 2 days out of 8 days with no tiger sharks, but we've always had sharks.
Right. Yeah. No, nothing. I don't know. Maybe you don't want me on one of your expeditions after all. You see me coming and go, oh no, it's her.
No, where there's an archipelago. It's 220 nautical miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas. It was one of the most physically difficult, challenging places to tag, and it was the most irritating because I'm sitting there this is with the heavy current, I'm holding onto the buoy, humpback whale singing. Stick my head under, and then I see him swim by. Oh, I'd so like to go in.
Yeah, I want to go and play with that.
And then I'm diving down, and I'm in this mode, I've got the spear gun, I'm equalizing, I'm looking up. There's a manta ray with a 5-meter spread, comes in to look at me. Okay, forget the tagging, I'm going to interact, and she's spinning around me, and this enormous creature, and literally she was doing this. She was checking me out.
Yeah.
And then,
what are you?
Yeah, exactly. And then, on another dive, I was about to take off and dive, and there was a whole pod of dolphins that came shooting in and around us. So then I aborted the dive, and I'm on the surface, and we have the dolphins.
Yeah.
And then we had young people there that were watching, and then we had manta rays exiting the water.
Really?
It was crazy. And then at one point I was diving down, and there were hammerheads, and I look around, and there's a 4.5-meter tiger shark, and she just kind of cruises in and looks at me like this. I just love to dive there. Forget the tagging, film and photograph.
Amazing.
It was like that every day. Silvertip sharks coming in and around us, checking us out.
Okay, let me know when you're going there next time, please.
Okay.
I'll be there for sure. You're not just one of the top free divers, you're one of the big personalities as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
For being here with me. And so if you're out there watching and you're inspired by William's work with the sharks, his conservation, and you're keen to volunteer, then please go and check out his Facebook page, his website, the Watermen Project.
TheWatermenProject.org. TheWatermen.org.
TheWatermen.org. Thank you for watching. And I will see you here again on Freediving Legends very soon. Take care out there. Sat Nam.